Hi everybody, welcome back to our second video of the week. We are still looking at adding and subtracting rational expressions. I first want to apologize if you heard weird noises in the background. I am hiding in my basement trying to record this video while my 3 kids are upstairs supposedly cleaning. Although music's playing, I can hear the hoverboard running around the house, so I don't know what's going on upstairs. So if you hear loud noises, it's because of them. So anyway, now that we've cleared that up, let's move on with part 2 of adding and subtracting. So picking up where we left off before, and we still have our 7 steps. The problems today are similar to what we did on the first video, but we are going to kind of add to them, making the problems a little more difficult as we go. This section, more than probably any other one, is really important that you take the time to try these on your own. So, watch me go through a couple, and if you're starting to feel a little more confident, pause the video, take the time, try it on your own, or even try a step or 2 at a time on your own. Hit play, watch it, and kind of see how you're doing. Because these, I know, can get very hard. I know it's hard for me to teach these to you when I can't be there right in front of you to kind of talk you through things. So do the best you can, pause it, try it on your own, play the video again, whatever you need. If you're still having trouble, then make sure you log into one of the weekly meetings and make sure you get some help. All right, so here we go. So first problem, number 5 today, picking up where we left off from before. First thing I notice is we have a minus sign in the middle. So remember those minus signs, we want to kind of cross those out and distribute them to the numerator. So now we're ready for step 1, which is factor denominators. Neither of these denominators will factor. They're both just one term, right? There's no plus or minuses that, 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, which are things that we know how to factor. So for these terms, there's no super glue holding them together, right? No plus minus, which means I can kind of take each piece at a time. So for step 2, finding our LCD, I can just look at every piece. So between 3 and 6, I can turn those both into a 6. X squared and x cubed, remember the rule that they cannot be smaller. It has to at least be as big or bigger than what you have. So I can make them both x cubes, and then I have a y and no y. It has to be at least as big, so I can't leave anything out. All right, so there's my LCD. Multiply each fraction by the missing piece to obtain the common denominator. So remember, we're kind of looking separate here. What do you multiply 3x squared y to get 6x cubed y? Well, 3 times 2 makes 6. X squared times x will make x cubed, and I already have the y. So that means I multiply the top by 2x. So 2x times 2z gives me 4xz. And then the next fraction, what do you multiply 6x cubed to get 6x cubed y? Well, I only need the y. So we multiply the top, and we get a negative 5y. Okay, that was step 3. Step 4, add your numerator. I have an xz and a y. Those are not like terms. Restrictions. So x and y cannot equal. They're both going to be a 0. Right? If you would set 6x cubed y equal to 0 and try to solve that, 0 is what you would get, so that's what it cannot be. Factor the numerator. I can't take anything out of that, so nothing there. And then cancel anything you can, nothing actually cancels. So that is the rest of that problem. We are done. All right, moving on to the next one. So no minus sign to distribute, so we'll jump right in. Step 1, factor the denominators. Again, neither of them have plus minus. They're only one term. I can't factor. LCD. Let's see, between 4 and 5, I can turn both of those into a 20. Have to be at least as big or bigger. Let's see, I have m cubed and m, so I have to go m cubed, and I have an n to the 5th. All right. Multiply by their missing piece. So again, look at them separately. What do you multiply 4m cubed to get 20m cubed n to the 5th? Well, 4 times 5 makes 20. M cubed I have, and then I need an n to the 5th. So that means I multiply the top by that. And that would give me 45, oops, wrong spot. So it gives me 45 n to the 5th. And then the second part, what do you multiply 5m n to the 5th to get 20 m cubed n to the 5th? Well, 5 times 4 make 20. M times m squared makes m cubed, and I already have the n to the 5th. So multiplying the top by 4m squared gives me a positive 8m squared. All right, step 3. All right, step 4, add your numerator. Those are not like terms, so I can't do anything there. Restrictions. So we have an m and an n, and neither one can be 0 since it's just being multiplied. Factor the numerator. There is no common factor, nothing I can factor. And it means there's nothing that cancels. And we are done. Now, some problems are kind of boring like this one, right? You get them common, you put them together, and that's kind of all you can do. But some of them are fun, and things cancel out, and I know I'm a nerd. Sometimes I think that's fun, when things cancel out and you end up with like a really small answer compared to everything that you did. All right, here we go. Number 7. No negative to distribute, so we'll jump right in. Step 1, factor your denominators. So this first one is my favorite. That is a difference of squares. So x plus 2, x minus 2. The second one does not factor. All right, finding the LCD, we can do that. So I need every piece accounted for, right? So again, they are separate fractions. So on this one, I have an x plus 2 and an x minus 2, right? They are held together with that super glue, those plus minuses. Keep them together as one piece. And then x plus 2, I already have that down. So I'm covered. All right, so multiplying by their missing piece. What is this one missing to look like this? Well, it's not missing anything. It's got both parts. So I don't have to multiply the top by anything. So it can just stay in x. Right? Now the second one, what do you multiply x plus 2 to get x plus 2, x minus 2? Well, it needs an x minus 2 to look like that, which means I multiply the top by x minus 2. So distributing, pretty easy there. It's going to give me x minus 2. All right, that was step 3. Step 4, add numerator. So I have x plus x, which is 2x minus 2 over x plus 2x minus 2. So step 4 done. Step 5, my restrictions. So x cannot equal, from the denominators down here, I would get plus or minus 2. Step 6, factor numerator. Well, I can take out a 2, which leaves me with x minus 1 over x plus 2x minus 2. And then does anything cancel? Unfortunately, no. I have an x minus 1 and x minus 2 are not the same. So that is as far as I go. That was an equal sign. And that is it. So I had a little extra factoring in it, but unfortunately nothing canceled. All right, next problem. A plus sign, so we don't have to worry about distributing any negatives. Notice I'm always looking for that first. Then step 1, factor denominators. So the first one will not factor, but the second one here, we can do x minus 2 and x minus 1. So that'll factor. Step 2, my LCD. Again, keep thinking of these as two separate fractions, so two separate pieces. I need an x minus 1. I need an x minus 2. And I already wrote down the x minus 1. So I have every piece accounted for. All right, from there, multiply each by its missing piece. So what is this one missing to look like this? Well, it's missing the x minus 2. So we will multiply the top by x minus 2. And we distribute. So we get x squared minus 2x. All right, and then what is this side missing to look like this? And it's not missing anything. It's got both pieces already. So this top doesn't need multiplied, but it is in fact still here. So a positive 2x minus 1. All right, that was step 3. Step 4, add your numerators. So any like terms, we have an x squared. I have negative 2x plus 2x. Those are going to cancel. And I have a minus 1 over x minus 1, x minus 2. All right, that was me adding numerators. Step 5 is restrictions. So looking at my denominators, that's going to give me 1 and 2. So x cannot be 1 or 2. Factor numerator. That is my favorite on the top. That's x plus 1 and x minus 1 over x minus 1, x minus 2. Oops. There we go. And step 7, cancel. Yay, finally something cancels. See the x minus 1 on top, x minus 1 on the bottom. So we have x plus 1 on top and x minus 2 on the bottom. Ooh, can I cancel those x's? No, you can't cancel those. Those are super glued, right? If it's super glued with the plus or minus, you cannot touch it, okay? So watch out for that super glue. Now that one was more fun, right? I got factored and you got things to cancel. Those are the fun ones. All right, number 9. Okay, no minus sign to distribute, so we don't have to worry about that. So step 1, factor denominators. That first one does not factor. The second one, I can take out a 3x, which would leave x plus 1. Don't forget that 1 there. All right, so that was step 1. Step 2, find my LCD. So common denominator, again, thinking of these as separate parts. So I need a 9x squared. And then notice there's no super glue on this second part here, right? This 3x. So how do you turn, or can I turn a 3x into a 9x squared? And yes, if I would multiply by 3x, I could, ooh, that's a terrible x. If I multiply that by 3x, it'll turn it into this, which means 9x squared is good. But then I also need an x plus 1. All right, so that was step 2. Step 3, multiply by what it's missing. So what do you multiply 9x squared to get 9x squared and x plus 1? I'm missing the x plus 1. So let's distribute here on the top. So we get 7x plus 7. And then when you multiply the 3x, x plus 1, to get 9x squared, x plus 1, we already kind of talked over here, I should multiply by 3x, which will give me 3x squared when I multiply those together. All right, step 4, add your numerator. And I don't see any like terms on top there, but I will put it in the right order. 3x squared plus 7x plus 7 over 9x squared and x plus 1. Step 5, my restrictions. So it's going to give me a 0, and that will give me negative 1. And then factor numerator. That actually does not factor. So does anything cancel? And no, everything on that top is super glued together, so there's nothing I can do with that. All right, great job. All right, so no minus in between to distribute, so I'm good. So factor denominators. First one won't factor. Second one, I can take out an x, and I'm left with x minus 1. So finding my LCD is next. So again, these are two separate things. Kind of look through them. I need an x minus 1. And then from here, I'm going to need the x, because that's not super glued, so I can kind of pull that apart. And the x minus 1 I actually already have down, so I'm good. All right, step 3, multiply by their missing piece. What do you multiply this one to make it look like this? Well, I'm missing the x. So I'm going to multiply the top by x. So distributing that, we get x squared plus x. And then the second one, what do you multiply this part to look like this? And it already looks like that. So I don't have to multiply anything, but I do still need that minus 2. Step 4, add your numerators. There are no like terms. Done with that. Step 5, restrictions. So x cannot equal, that would give me a 0 and a 1. Step 6, factor numerator. Ooh, that factors. That's going to give me, let's see, x plus 2 and x minus 1 over x and x minus 1. And then does anything cancel? Yes. Finally, I love when things cancel out. Those are the same top and bottom. So we are left with x plus 2 over x. Don't you dare cancel those x's. That top one is super glued to the 2, so you can't touch that one. Awesome. I like when things cancel. Moving right along. Again, guys, at any point, if you're getting tired and you need a break, you need to kind of stop and rethink this, because these do get difficult, I'm aware. Take a break, okay? Pause it, try some on your own, play it, see how you did, okay? All right, number 11. Notice there's a minus sign in between, so we want to distribute that. And distribute it to the numerator, and it's going to change those signs. Okay, so we can get rid of that because I used it to distribute to the top. All right, so here you go. Step 1 is factor denominators. The first one doesn't factor. This one would be x minus 2 and x minus 1. LCD. Again, thinking of two separate parts here. I need an x minus 2. I already wrote that one down. And then I need an x minus 1. So I have all my parts and pieces. All right, that was LCD. Step 3, multiply by their missing piece. What is this one missing to look like this? It's missing the x minus 1. So we are going to have to multiply those together. So that means we have to distribute. So we're going to get x squared plus 3x. And then distribute the negative 1. So negative x minus 3. All right, second fraction, what is this missing to look like this? It's not missing anything. So that top doesn't need multiplied, but it is still there. So negative 6x plus 7. I really don't know if you can hear my children at this point, but it sounds like my roof is going to cave in on top of me. If you can't hear that, I am really impressed because it is so loud and distracting. Anyway, just to lighten the mood there for a second. Moving on, we just multiplied. Step 4 is add numerators. So let's see, we have an x squared, and then I have 3x minus x is 2x, minus 6x is negative 4x, and then I have a negative 3 plus 7, which is a positive 4, over x minus 2 and x minus 1. So that was adding numerators. Next is restrictions. So x cannot equal, let's see, it would be 2 and 1. That's restrictions. Step 6 is to factor the numerator. So let's see, we can factor that, right? So that'd be x minus 2 and x minus 2 over x minus 2 and x minus 1. Done there. Does anything cancel? Yay! X minus 2 will cancel with that x minus 2. So our final answer then is x minus 2 over x minus 1. Ta-da! Aren't these fun? Or am I the only one who seriously loves to do these? All right, I might be the only one, okay? Hopefully some of my enthusiasm will rub off on you. All right, so number 12. Whew, we're getting close, guys. Hang with me, a couple more. So number 12, again, right away I notice there's a minus sign. We want to distribute the minus always to the numerator. So we're going to change that sign, and then we can cross it off once we've used it to distribute. Okay, we changed our signs, we used it, we can just cross that off. Okay, so here we go. So factor numerator, step 1. The first one, I can take out an x. Don't forget to look for the GCF. For some reason, that seems to be what people forget. The second one, I can take out a 2. My children are psychotic. They are flying across the floor, screaming their heads off right now on the hoverboard. Seriously, so loud. Okay, so that was step 1. Step 2, your LCD. These are separate parts. So I need an x. I need an x minus 2. I need a 2. And an x minus 2, which I already have down. Right, that x and that 2 that we have out in front, those were not super glued to something else, so we kind of pieced those apart separately. All right, so that was step 2. Multiply by their missing piece. So what is this missing to look like this? Well, it's missing the 2, so that means I have to multiply by 2. So that gives me 2x plus 4. All right, and then the second one, what is this missing to look like this one? It's missing the x, so we will multiply this whole thing by x, meaning we have to distribute. So we get negative x squared minus 2x. Okay, that was step 3. Step 4, add our numerators together. So let's see, we have a negative x squared, always putting them in standard form. I have 2x minus 2x is nothing, and plus 4 over 2x, x minus 2. All right, step 5, my restrictions. X cannot equal, let's see, we're going to get a 0 and a 2 from my denominators. Step 6, factor the numerator. We know if that first one's negative, we can't leave that, so we take out the negative 1, would give me x squared minus 4 over 2x, x minus 2. And then, yay, that's my favorite, difference of squares. So we have negative 1, and that would be x plus 2 and x minus 2 over 2x, x minus 2. All right, so it's factored. Does anything cancel? Yay! X minus 2's cancel. So my final answer is going to be the negative 1 and the x plus 2 on the top. And then on the bottom, I have a 2 and an x. And we're done. That was a fun one. Lots of factoring and some canceling. I like that one. All right, number 13. I believe we got 2 to go if my memory serves me correct. All right, so number 13, there is no minus to distribute, so we're good there. So step 1, factor denominators. I can take a 2 out of the first one. And the second one will factor to x minus 3 and x minus 1. That was step 1. Step 2, find my LCD. So let's see, I need a 2. I need an x minus 1. I need an x minus 3. I need an x minus 1. I already wrote that down. All right, so notice how I just kind of go, I work right from left to right, work my way across, and I write down every single piece that I see, making sure I got them all accounted for. All right, step 3, I'll multiply by the missing piece. So what is this denominator missing to look like this? And it's missing the x minus 3. All right, so we're going to have to distribute this. So that gives me x squared plus 2x, and then distribute the negative 3. So negative 3x minus 6. All right, and then what about the second one? What does it need to look like this? Well, it's just missing a 2. So multiply by 2. So that's going to give me 4x and plus 2. All right, so that was step 3. Step 4, add my numerator. So looking for common factors here. So we have x squared. Let's see, I have 2x minus 3x is negative 1x, plus 4x is a positive 3x, and then negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4 over that denominator. All right, so that was step 4. Step 5, my restrictions. So x cannot equal, baby brother doesn't give me anything because there's no x there. I get a 1 and a 3 from there. All right, step 5, factor the numerator. So let's see, that will factor to an x plus 4 and an x minus 1 over 2 x minus 1, x minus 3. And step 7, anything cancel. Yay, something cancels, x minus 1, so let's cancel out. All right, so we are left with x plus 4 on the top and a 2 and an x minus 3 on the bottom. Ta-da, we are done. Don't you feel like dancing like that little frog right there? Like, ta-da, look what I can do. I don't know about you, but I always love when I go through a problem, I do all this work and I get done with it and I'm right and I'm like, I am the smartest person in this little space right here. Anyone else ever think that? Maybe I should get up more. This quarantine's maybe getting to my head. Anyway, number 14, last problem. And I got very, very quiet upstairs. Either my husband yelled at my children or they just killed each other. Either way, it's quiet upstairs. So, last problem, number 14. I see the minus sign in the middle, so let's make sure we distribute that to the numerator. And always go left to right, so it's just the one after it. We're ready for step 1, factor denominators. So the first one's going to factor to x plus 2 and x plus 2. The second one will factor to x plus 2 and x minus 2. My favorite difference of squares. All right, so that was step 1. Step 2, find my LCD. So I need x plus 2 twice, because this one has it twice, and I know I can't make them smaller, so I'm going to need 2 of them. All right, moving on to the second one. I already have that written down, so I'm good, but I also need an x minus 2. All right, keeping in mind I can't make them smaller. Since x plus 2 showed up twice, I need it twice. That's always looking at it per fraction. That's why sometimes it helps to put that line in between like I've been showing you. That way you kind of recognize each one separately. Otherwise it kind of melds into one thing. Especially if you're handwriting, you're trying to fit it in a small spot, you lose track of things. All right, so that was step 2. Step 3, what is this missing to look like this? Well, it's missing the x minus 2. So we need to multiply the top by the x minus 2, distributing, of course. So we're going to get x squared plus x minus 2x minus 2. All right, second one, what is this one missing to look like this? And it is missing another x plus 2. So we have to multiply the top by the x plus 2 that it was missing. So distributing, we get negative 6x minus 12. All right, that was step 3. Step 4, add my numerator. So we have an x squared. 1x minus 2x is negative 1x. Gives me negative 7x. And then negative 2 minus 12 is negative 14. And x plus, that doesn't want to write, there we go. X plus 2, I'm going to be lazy here, squared, because I have 2 of them. And x minus 2. Step 5, what are my restrictions? So from the bottom, I have x, that's going to give me negative 2 and 2. So x cannot be plus or minus 2. All right, step 6, factor that numerator. It does not factor. It's okay. I know some people kind of get frustrated, like it looks like it should factor. I must have done something wrong. Not necessarily. Sometimes you think they should, but if you play around with the numbers, they really don't work, and that's okay, so don't panic. And then step 7, does anything cancel? No, that top is all super glued together as one piece, so there's nothing I can do. All right, I know that is a lot. I know this was long. You can see why we split adding and subtracting into 2 parts, 2 different videos. And also, hopefully you can see why we're only doing 2 videos this week. So as you continue practicing on this, practice the homework. It's pretty intense. I try to show my work as clear as I possibly could on the answer keys. Let me know if you have questions, okay? I know this gets difficult. As you take the quizzes for each of these this week and the end of the week quiz is, each of them individually is just adding and subtracting. I am not asking about restrictions this week. Make sure you know how they work, but I'm not going to ask for them on the quizzes. But next week, we'll get into solving with all of this, right? We'll actually have equal signs, and we're going to solve these for x. That's when the restrictions come into play big time. So even though I'm not going to ask for them on the quizzes this week, make sure you still are aware of how they work. But also the end of the week quizzes does cover simplifying, multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting for the big quizzes at the end of this week. So make sure you practice, look over the review, look over all your problems, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, guys, that is the end of your videos for this week, so just the two. So practice, work hard, let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, that is it for this week. Thanks, guys.